Ian Stewart showed no emotion whatsoever as that guilty verdict was brought back by the foreman of the jury here at Huntingdon Crown Court. The jury had been deliberating for a total of 9 hours and 50 minutes, and in the past 20 minutes they were brought back into court and Stewart was asked to stand as that verdict was delivered. No emotion from him whatsoever. Now, this was a very unusual case because from the very outset, on the first day of this murder trial, the jury were told by the prosecuting counsel that the man in front of them, 61-year-old Ian Stewart, was a convicted murderer. They were told that in 2016 he had murdered his fiancée, the children's author, Helen Bailey. So they knew from day one of this trial that he was a convicted murderer. It was that conviction in 2017 that resulted in police detectives going back and looking at the sudden unexplained death of his wife Diane Stewart, who was 47, in 2010. And everything unravelled from there. Police detectives got involved. It had initially been put down as something called sudden death in epilepsy. She was an epileptic, but she'd only ever had 3 epileptic fits in her entire life. He claimed that on the day she died, that he had returned from the shops to their family property at Bassingbourn in Cambridgeshire, and he had found her slumped in the garden, and he said he immediately began giving her CPR for 10 minutes, then went down the road to a doctor's house who was a neighbour, and then returned and resumed the CPR when he couldn't find the doctor. So some 25 minutes had passed before he even rang 999. The prosecution told the jury this was all part of a plot and that she hadn't had an epileptic fit. He had indeed killed her. So in the past few minutes, the jury coming back with that guilty verdict against Ian Stewart. We'll hear shortly from the Detective Superintendent Jerome Kent, who investigated both murders. But in the meantime, we can listen to part of the police interview where officers are putting this to Stewart and he doesn't respond.
So she's not awake and you didn't think that she was breathing. How did you check if she was breathing? Said you didn't think she was breathing. He said, I've tried, I've turned her to put her in the recovery position, but I can't do it, she's just flopped back. Can you describe to us how you put her in a recovery position? Or how you tried to?
So that was the police interview, part of it, with Stewart when he was initially arrested on suspicion of murder. We can hear now from the 999 call that was made on the day in question. This is June 2010. He has found his wife slumped in the garden. He said, we now know he had murdered her. This is the emergency call he made after some 25 minutes or so.
She's in the garden. She's unconscious.
Okay. Are you with the patient now?
I'm just indoors at the moment. I'm just
Can you
out.
see her from where you are?
Yeah, yeah.
How old is she, please?
She's 47.
Is she awake?
No, she's not awake.
Is she
She's
breathing? Is she breathing?
No, I don't think so, no.
Right, you need to go and check on her, sir, for me, please.
I'm right beside her now.
Right, is she breathing?
No, sir, no.
So just to recap, in the past few minutes here at Huntingdon Crown Court, 61-year-old Ian Stewart guilty of murdering his wife Diane. She was 47 years old and that was in 2010. Very shortly we will hear from the Detective Superintendent Jerome Kent, who investigated both murders.